Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of this little show that I like to call Spill It. Spill It is a show where I get to speak to inspirational people and share some inspirational stories to connect people together, inspire others, and help people learn something new. This episode is our little tea time episode. It is episode 84, Tea with Marcus, as we do a mental health check-in today. So don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe, no matter where you are watching this, no matter where you are listening to this. If you are listening to this live, if you're watching this on playback, or if you are listening to this on your preferred podcast streaming service, then you can do all of the above. Like, rate, subscribe on all of those. So do it. Do it now. And of course, get those comments and questions in. You can be part of the live show by obviously being part of the comment section. So if you leave a comment, it means that you are part of the conversation. We get to interact with that conversation, and you are, it's a friendly little environment here, guys. This is what we do here. But basically, if you drop a comment, it means that you are part of the conversation that's happening today and on every other episode as well. And it also means that I get to converse with you and hear your thoughts on what we talk about on each episode. And lastly, don't forget to hit that share button. The reason I ask for that is as simple as this, really. There will be teacups out there. That's right, I call you all teacups that watch this. There will be teacups out there who have never heard of Spill It before. Now, whether they be on your friends list on Facebook or they are on your followers on LinkedIn, or you are watching this on YouTube and you are streaming it over there, you can always share it onto whatever platform you want to. Then it's up to you. But essentially, what that means is that more and more people will discover what Spill It is all about, and if they resonate with one of the episodes that we've done, because this is a show where we speak to inspirational people from all walks of life. It doesn't matter what it is. And I know that this week's episode, this is going to be another time that we're talking about mental health. It's important to talk about mental health, but that doesn't mean that that's what this podcast is all about. This show is literally about anybody who has a story to tell. And we have had some guests, haven't we, over the years, from just like your average Joe who's won an award for something, to then like actual celebrities coming on, like Nathan Henry from Geordie Shore. We've had Brianne Davis from Jarhead. We've had so many. So yeah, it's open to everybody, essentially. So yeah, just jump on board and give it a share. Give it a share. Let me see you share it far and wide. But also, as I say, make sure that you're part of the comments. Like my dear friend Linda over here. Hi, Linda. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, the lovely, amazing Deborah Kidd from sunny Scottsdale. Hi, Deborah. It's so nice to see you up in the comments again. Love this show. Absolutely love it. Can't believe we're doing the final season. Oh well, let's crack on, shall we? Okay, I think it's time to share my ick for today. Disgusting! That's right, it is What's Your Ick? Okay, now for those people who just need a little bit of a reminder about what an ick is, it's that little something that somebody does and you just think, yeah. That is the best impression that I've done in a long time. But yeah, you just go, like they could be a really nice person. It could be that you find you have a little bit of a crush on that person. It could be that you just really, really respect them. And then they do something and you just think, if you do that, you are no good for me. No good. Get that ick out of my life. Get you right outside of my life. I am not having you in there. That is essentially what an ick is. Okay. How does it go? How does what go, Linda? How does what go? You'll have to elaborate. Okay, so my ick for this week. To be fair, I know that I've kept things really, really. I don't know, like they've been quite loosey goosey, if you will. So there's been ones that I've mentioned that are like very, oh yeah, you know what? Actually, I've never really noticed that or whatever. Now this one for me is a very particular ick, and it must be because I have like severe OCD about something like this. But and I know that like the majority of people, or not even the majority of people, but I know that a lot of people out there nowadays will have things like dishwashers that can wash all of your dishes. Okay. Well, my ick is for those people who don't have a dishwasher. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't have a dishwasher, that's my ick. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this goes out to those people who don't have a dishwasher. If you do have a dishwasher, you're safe. If you don't have a dishwasher, you're going to fall in one of two categories for me. And here it is. Number one, you fill it up with water, the sink or the tub, however you're going to wash up. You fill it up, and then you have all your dishes and your plates and all of that lot, and you wash them all up and you put them to the side. And then you get your cups, and then you wash them out and you put them onto the side as well. Now, that is an ick for me. Okay, let me break it down. So those people who wash the food, like so they wash like the plates and the dishes and the cutlery and all of that lot in the tub. Okay. And then they then proceed to wash the cups and the glasses in all of the water that's in the tub. I can't. I really can't. Like, so I'm one of those people. I have to fill it up. I wash the cup. I wash the dishes and all of that lot, and then I have to empty the water and I have to refill it back up again to wash the cups and the glasses. Now, I'm hoping that I'm not the only person out there that does this, because honestly, yeah, I went round to somebody's house and I saw them washing up, and I was just like, I can't, I can't. I was like, are you gonna wash are you gonna wash your glasses and that with the same water? And they were like, yeah. I was like, why? I don't understand. And it really just put me off. And so I had to. I couldn't. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It was what it was like when I was growing up at home. It was always a case of you wash the plates and the dishes first, and then you empty the water, and then you refill it back up again to wash your cups and your glasses out. And because that's stuck in my head, anybody that does it any differently, I'm just like, nope, nope, I can't drink out of that mug, or I can't drink out of that glass. So please tell me that I'm not the only one out there that does this. If you are also a bit of an anal person like myself, then make sure that you get in touch with me, drop a comment or drop me an email, markers@spillit.uk, and please let me know if you are if you are very similar to who I am and what I do with the washing up. If you do it the other way, you're a major ick. Disgusting! Okay, that was my ick. Just a little light-hearted one to bring us into the weekend. I mean, there were so many different icks that I could have chosen as well. One of the other icks was, oh my God, and I should have said this one really, to be fair, but I walked into the range, I think it was today. So I've got a Halloween party tomorrow. So every year I do a Halloween party. And we're not at Halloween yet. Halloween is on Tuesday. And at the range, they'd reduced all of the Halloween section, which was, because I went in there too, like last week it was, they've reduced their aisles down from like one side, two side, three sides, four sides. So 2 aisles, but 4 sides. Plus like a little basket thing at the front of all of the Halloween stuff. And they've reduced all of that down to like this little, like 4-foot bay at the front of a shop. And then on the other side of it, it's just Christmas everywhere. Everywhere. And I'm sorry, I have an issue with that. Like, let's slow down a little bit. Let's just, we don't need it. Do we need it? Do we need Christmas this early? I mean, I'm sure that as we get past Halloween and past Bonfire Night, I am gonna have some serious icks with regards to how Christmassy people are. Because for those people who do know me, or don't know me, sorry, like, I don't do Christmas. I'm not a Christmassy person. So it'll be very interesting to see what my icks are going to be like to the lead up of Christmas. But yes, anyway, that was a secondary. There you go. You can have one for free. Walking into a shop before Halloween and seeing the fact that Halloween has been reduced to just to either 2 foot or 4 foot, just a small little section when it was big just before Halloween. We've not even got to Halloween yet, and you're reducing your section down to make way for like 10 different aisles of Christmas. Come on. Like, let's just calm down a little bit, right? Like, I just can't. I just can't. I'm not a Christmassy person either, says Deborah. Thank you for joining me with that one. I don't know. I mean, as I say, there's going to be many a times or many a moaning from me as we get closer to Christmas. But yeah, I just think that let's not rush through the year. And I know that Christmas is the biggest seller, and I know that Halloween doesn't really pull in a lot of money with regards to, like, from obviously a retail perspective. But let's just slow down a little bit, right? Like, let's just get Halloween out of the way and then do your moves. Like 1st of November, start doing your moves ready for Christmas. Because obviously, the normal retail stores aren't going to be selling anything but for Bonfire Night, let's be honest. I mean, there'll be a few little like supermarkets and things that'll they'll I just seen Linda's comment, bar humbug. Debs and Market. I can't help myself, Linda. But obviously there'll be the supermarkets who will be selling like fireworks and everything. But let's just move the Christmas moves. Get some of it out. I get that. But let's not just put Christmas out and reduce Halloween down before Halloween's even come and gone. Like, this is the weekend before Halloween. We've still got Halloween night. 1st of November, I'll accept that. I mean, I still think the 1st of November is a bit shocking, really. I think it should be start of December. But I get that people want to rinse money out of people because let's face it, that's what this season's all about. It's all about let's see how much money we can make. But yeah, I just think that if we're going to put Christmas out and we're going to put it out early, let's at least wait until the 1st of November, right? One store here even has Christmas items on sale at 50% off. That's ridiculous. You know what else is ridiculous? Do you know what? This could just be an episode about icks. I'm going to do a Christmas moaning episode, I think. On Christmas Day. Oh, my life, that'd be amazing. On Christmas Day, I'll do a podcast episode of Christmas morning. On Christmas morning. That'll be hilarious. But yeah, that is ridiculous. That's horrendous. But yeah, there's people who go out on Boxing Day to buy things for Christmas next year. Now, I get that obviously in the long run, that's actually a really good way of doing things, because then it means that you're not having to rush around during Christmas. You actually get to stay at home. You don't have to go into the shops where it's going to be all busy and all that lot. But I can't. Like, I don't understand why. Like, just get it on. Like, for me, Boxing Day, I'm like, done. Cool. Right, Christmas is over for another year. Thank God. I do that, says Linda. So you go out on Boxing Day to buy Christmas for next year. The thing is that I can't. So even though I don't, obviously, I dislike Christmas. I think it's a waste of money. I think it's a waste of people's time. I think that it's just a ridiculous season, essentially. And people go, oh, it's about family. It's about spending time with each other. Ick. But I just think that I hate it so much. It's like we're gonna now try and force everybody to be happy, or because it's the Christmas season, so you have to be happy. No, you know what? If I want to moan and I want to have a little bit of a whinge about how cold it is and how busy it is and how much I don't like people around Christmas time because they're all rude and all that lot. That's what I'm going to do. This, ladies and gentlemen, thems and friends, is what working in retail has done to me. Okay. Now, I'm glad that I'm not working in retail as such anymore. However, for the years of working in retail since leaving high school, this is what it's done to me. I hate Christmas. Anyway, this wasn't supposed to be a Christmas episode. And for what, 15 minutes? All I've talked about is Christmas. Linda, my ick is everyone pays full price, then Boxing Day all reduced. So wait till it's reduced. I mean, true. Yeah, I get that. It's like Black Friday. I hate Black Friday as well. I think it's just another money grabbing thing. It's just a way for stores and big bosses to make even more money and get money out of people. Purely. Sorry, that was a yawn. You're keeping me up. No, Black Friday is just another way of just exploiting people by trying to sell the things that are in the warehouse that are either out of season or they are like the last year's model or something like that, essentially. And it's just their way of being able to get rid of the stock that's in the warehouse. That's it. Because essentially, let's look at the model of like a major company that sells TVs and dishwashers and laptops and computers and all that. So if you look at like a company like that, they will pay X amount of money to have these products. If those products sit in their warehouse for X amount of time, then they start losing value, which then means the company has not sold, like obviously margin wise, they're not making enough money from obviously what they've spent to get that product in. So then when you look at Black Friday, it's a perfect way for them to get all of the out of stock stuff or the out of season stuff, that isn't going to sell, mark it up to a certain value, and then pitch that to your audience to then just say, oh, look, this is what we want to sell now, and look at all of this percentage off. Yeah, it says, oh, you can save 70% off. Yeah, well, that was like the full price thing that you put on there. That's what the price was when it first got released. That's not what the price is now. Like the price now would be like maybe a saving of 20 quid or whatever it is. So it's just another, I hate it all, as you can tell. Right. Anyway, I literally just said, let's move on. But I mean, to be fair, it's my episode. I'll do what I want. It's my episode. It's my podcast. There's no guest. And it is tea with me. So this is my tea for today, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen, thems and friends? And here is your jingle, because it is my time for tea. There you go. There's your jingle, because it's my time for tea. So yeah, we've talked about mental health on Monday. And then today we've talked about Christmas. We've talked about Black Friday. We've talked about Halloween. We've talked about business models and CEOs getting more money and all of that lot. But we are here to talk about mental health. We're talking about our episode that we did on Monday with Nathan Paul. So Nathan had a great episode again. So I remember when Nathan came on back in 2020, he was the first guest that I had on. And I said this to him on Monday as well. He was the first guest that I had on that really and truly opened up his heart and was just pouring it out for everyone to see and hear. And it was at that point, I was like, this, because it was only early on, it was like episode 8, I think it was. And it was, yeah, so it was very early on. And I just remember looking at that episode back and listening to it on, well, I listened to Spotify. So I was listening to it on Spotify, and I remember hearing it back and going, this is why I've set Spill It Up. This is the route that I want to go down. I want to be able to give people who wouldn't necessarily have a voice to tell their story. And Nathan did exactly the same on Monday as well. So I watched back the episode because I have to, obviously, to edit the for the audio file for the podcast. So I was listening to the audio file, and I was just like, this is why I started Spill It. About giving people a platform to talk about serious things that happen to everyday people, but you don't necessarily think that other people are going through it. And that's why I wanted Nathan back on the show. That's why I was very happy the fact that he accepted to come back on the show. And I was more than ecstatic when he opened up again and started talking about, and obviously it was a horrible situation that he's been through, the loss of his father and having to maneuver through grief. It was an awful situation for him to be in, and of course I obviously wouldn't wish that he'd gone through that, but I was just so grateful that he was able to open up with a different subject as well that did affect his mental health. So obviously I had no idea that this had happened. So when he came on in 2020, he was talking about his mental health and coming to terms with sexuality and all of that lot, and how that had affected his mental health and feeling pushed out, feeling suicidal, etc. And then on Monday's episode, so when I asked him back, I had no idea that this is what he'd been going through, like with the loss of his father and having to maneuver through the grief. All I asked him was, would you like to come back on the show, just so that we can have a bit of a catch up and see how things have gone over the last couple of years? And he was like, yeah, brilliant, that'd be amazing. He didn't even tell me then. So when I heard that on Monday, I was honestly just, that poor guy having to deal with that. And to be fair, has come out such a strong-minded person, and being able to share his story to help people, and going out and getting his mental health first aid course done, and being able to like speak to people to help them through their own grief or their own emotions or that, like what they're dealing with. It was absolutely amazing that he was able to open up like that and be able to speak to us so openly. So, obviously, as I said, it's awful that he went through that. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody at all. But I was also like, I don't know, it's hard to put into words. It is kind of like that, in a way, like I'm so honored that he was able to come here with that story, to be able to connect with people again, and to be able to tell that story to the wider world of Spill It, whether that be through the live episodes or through the podcast. And he was able to talk about grief. And it really resonated with me. And as I said it on the last episode as well, to Nathan, last year I tried to maneuver myself through grief, but it was a different form of grief. when I was younger, I never knew my father, the sperm donor, however you want to say it. I never knew it at all. He was never part of my life, like at all. I literally have zero memories whatsoever. He just wasn't present. From what I have been told, he left when I was only a couple of months old. So obviously that's why I don't have any relationship with him whatsoever. The first communication that I had with him was when I was in primary school, and he came up to me, and I remember it was at home time, so it was about 3:05, and I was getting all of my bags and everything from the cloakroom. I must have been in either year 4 or year 5 in school. And I remember him just coming up to me, just this man coming over and saying, are you Marcus? And I said, yeah, that's me. And he said, I'm your dad. I said, no, you're not. I said, my dad works at CPC. And he said, no, I'm your real dad. And I just said, and now bearing in mind, this is, and I don't know the ages, like for the years, and I'm sure Linda will probably be more educated on this than me. So year 4, year 5, however old I was then, I want to say like 9 or 10 maybe, but whatever age you are when you're in year 4 or year 5, that's how old I was. And I remember him saying, no, I'm your real dad. And I said, and I still remember it today, and I said to him, what's my favorite food? And he said, well, I don't know. I said, well, it's beans. Honestly, growing up, beans was like my favorite food. I would have beans on absolutely anything at all. Like, give me a Sunday roast, and I would have to have had beans on it as well. Baked beans. Funny story as well, actually. when I was younger, I was on a quiz show called the DJ Cat Show. It was on Sky One. And I remember because we were like one of the first people on our street to get cable. So we had Sky One, and there was a TV show on there called the DJ Cat Show, and it was for kids to go and be part of this quiz show. And yeah, it was all like this virtual kind of stuff. Yeah, I say virtual. It wasn't. You had to, basically, you were on the phone and you had to direct the cat from one bit to the other, kind of like Pac-Man, if you will. You had to collect all the fish, and then you had to get to the exit. Well, and all you had was like people going up, down, right, left, down, like that. And I remember, complete tangent this, but I remember getting on there, and they asked me what my favorite food was, and I can't remember how old I was, but I just remember going, baked beans. So yeah, baked beans was my favorite food anyway. So yeah, biological father came over to me, asked me all of this, and I said, what's my favorite food? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, it's baked beans. And he was like, oh, well, okay, well, I didn't know that. I said, when's my birthday? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, then you're not my dad. And I walked off. I walked away. And I went to my mum that day, obviously after leaving school, and I remember asking her, or saying to her that a strange man came up to me and said that he was my dad. And she was like, who? And I said, just a man. She went, go and show me. So I had to go back into the school, and he'd gone, obviously. And it turned out that he had another son who was in the year below me. And that's why he was in the school. So that was the only communication I had with him. The second time that I tried, so I had a friend who, so this is me after I'd just left high school. I had a bit of an identity crisis, not knowing who I was, where I fit in, etc. Excuse me. And I had a friend after leaving high school who, so rewind just a little bit actually. So at 13 years old, my mum sat me down and told me the truth. And she said that the dad that I knew wasn't actually my real dad, and my real dad was another man. And obviously that's when the penny dropped. And I said to her, was it that man that came to me in school? And she said yes. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew that there was somebody else that was actually my actual dad. And so fast forward, had a friend after leaving school, and so his mum and his real dad had broken up, and they live like on opposite sides of Preston, and he had somebody else in his life as a father figure, but wasn't actually his dad. And I remember looking and just thinking, I wonder why it's okay for him to have a relationship with his real dad, but I don't have a real relationship with mine. And so then I reached out to him. I found his email address. I don't know how. I don't even know how. I genuinely have no memory of this whatsoever. But I know that I just found his email address. No mobile number, no address, no nothing. But for some reason, I've managed to find an email address. So I genuinely have no idea how I've got this email address, but I know that it was his. But anyway, so I'd emailed him. So I got an email address. Obviously, I was in school that time, and that's when we had emails. And I sent him an email, and I said, "Hi, yeah, it's Marcus and your son." And and I just said that I've only ever had one side of the story. I've never heard the other side of the story, and it would put my mind at ease if we could meet and I could hear what your side of the story is. I'm not expecting a relationship with yourself. I'm not expecting anything like that. I just want to know what happened. Now, this is me at 16 years old, 17 years old or something, and I'd reached out. I got an email back from him saying that to never contact him again. He didn't want anything to do with me, and to delete his email and never contact him again. He said, if I wanted anything to do with you, I would have been in your life, but I don't want anything to do with you. And I remember getting that email, and I remember crying, because I just remember thinking to myself that this was my dad, and he didn't want anything to do with me. Fast forward then, or during that, well, not even fast forwarding, but just during that time, I had a very, very destructive, awful relationship with, this is the thing, I don't even call him dad, because he's nothing at all. But I had this destructive relationship with the person who was supposed to be the father figure in my life, and he didn't want anything to do with me. There was one night he basically said to me that you are not my son, you'll never be my son. I've only got one son, and that's not you. And so this was like very, very close in between, like me contacting my real dad and then this happening with him. And I just remember thinking to myself that no dad wants me. I don't have any dad. And that's basically how I lived my life, and like knowing that I didn't have a father figure, because neither of them wanted to know me. But yeah, so last year at Christmas, just before Christmas, so this had affected me for a couple of weeks prior to Christmas, and then a couple of weeks after. But just before Christmas last year, I found out that my real dad passed away. And at first, I was like, well, I didn't have a relationship with him. So for me, it's just a stranger. I didn't have a relationship with him. We didn't have a conversation. I wouldn't have been able to tell you what his middle name was. I wouldn't even be able to tell you what his age was. I wouldn't be able to tell you what his birthday was. I wouldn't be able to tell you what favorite color he had or anything like that. And vice versa, he wouldn't know anything. He wouldn't know the same about me at all. So at first, I was like, well, I don't. It is what it is. You know, we plod on. I get that if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. But at the same time, I don't have that relationship. So therefore, you know. But then the more I thought about it, the more it started affecting me. It was more that throughout the years, now during 2020, during the pandemic, obviously we started Spill It. Prior to that, we set up Dance X, which is my dance exercise class based in Preston. And now obviously we have a class in Eccles as well, which is where I live. And we'd gone all the way through the pandemic, and the amazing guys, Linda in the comments, who's commenting, and many, many others had all voted for me or put my name forward for Pride of Preston. And very thankful the fact that I won that award. I'm sure I did an episode on it. But yeah, so I won the Pride of Preston Award. Massive thank you again. So I won that. Spill It started taking off. It was in papers. The Lancashire Evening Post started writing about it. I had celebrities messaging me and following me and pushing the platform out even further. I had other news reporters running stories on Spill It and the work that I've been doing. I then got the City Hero Award in Preston. I was then nominated at the National Diversity Awards for 2020 and then 2021. And I just remember thinking to myself when I found out that he died, I wonder if he saw this. I wonder if he saw the newspapers and he saw the articles, or he saw me, like, did he even see an episode of Spill It? Did he see me, or did he see us when we were dancing in the park all the way through the pandemic? Like, I just remember thinking all of this. I wonder if he did see this, and I wonder if there was a part of him that wanted to reach out. And then I thought, well, the thing is that if he did reach out at that time, I would have just rejected it anyway, because I've built my life without that family, without a family unit, if you will. I've gone through, because there's many issues, but without the father figure, I've built my life since being 13 years old. I have built my life without a father figure in my life. The hardest thing was coming to terms with the fact that I no longer had a choice. That choice was taken from me. That's what hurt a lot. The fact that throughout these years, I was choosing not to reach out to him. I was choosing not to engage in a conversation. I was choosing not to be able to reach out and go and knock on his door and go, oh, hey, by the way, I'm here. It was my choice. And that choice was gone. That choice was taken away from me. And that's what affected me the way that it did, because it was my choice to not speak to him. Obviously, when I reached out to him originally, just dropping the mic there, when I reached out to him originally, that was my choice, and he made a choice not to engage in that, and not to build that relationship, and not to be positive about it and whatever. To a 13-year-old lad, by the way, who's reached out to you, or 16-year-old, sorry. Yeah, don't worry about that. But yeah, he made that choice. And so therefore I made a choice. And as I say, that choice was taken from me. I don't have that choice anymore. It's no longer an option. If I wanted to get to know him or get to know what happened between, like, I will never know the full story now. And knowing that at the end of last year, that really, really did a number on me, because I can't get those answers that 16-year-old me wanted, or 13-year-old me. I can't even remember how old I was when I reached out to him. I'm pretty sure I was 16 years old. But those answers that I craved when I was 16 years old, and those answers that stuck with me for so long, I will never know now. And I knew that back in December of last year. That's what hit me. And so I started getting upset about it, and I started going through this grieving process. And obviously, this is what we talked about on Monday, grieving. I started going through this grieving process, and I wasn't fully aware of what that grieving process was. I knew I was grieving. I knew that part of it was grief. The difficulty of it is that I was telling myself that I wasn't allowed to feel like that. Why was I allowed to feel this grief? I didn't know him. He didn't know me. There are other people who he had a very close relationship with, who would be considered as my siblings, if you will. They have a good relationship, or they had a good relationship with him, and so therefore they were allowed to grieve. But I wasn't allowed to. And this is what was going through my head, the fact that I was telling myself that I wasn't allowed to grieve, but at the same time knew that I was grieving. And so because of that, it caused a massive conflict in my head, and it just spun me out of control a little bit. So around the end of last year, I was in a very, very dark place, because I was trying to maneuver my thoughts and my feelings, but I was also trying to not grieve and tell myself that, no, you're not allowed to grieve because you didn't know him. That's not fair. And also telling myself, but you are grieving and you are allowed to grieve, because we all grieve differently. So going through all of that, when Nathan mentioned on Monday, on our last episode, that he lost his dad and he was going through this grieving process, and he felt like this, and he had like things taken from him, and he'd never feel like this, or he'd never get these answers, or he'd never be able to, or he wouldn't even be able to look back. Sorry, he'd like one of the things that he said that he was able to look back and think of all of these positive things and all that lot. It really did bring back the thoughts of what happened last year. And I think maybe that's a reason why this week has been quite hard for me as well, because I've not fully come to terms with everything. I've just kind of gone, okay, I can accept, and let's move forward. And I think talking about my feelings of what I was going through last year through my grief, I think it's brought a lot of things back up to the surface. And I think I've really felt that this week, that there are still a lot of raw feelings, and there are still a lot of things that I have not yet confronted. And it has left my mental health a little bit shaken. Not saying that, I'm in a bad way or a bad position or whatever, but that's why I wanted to do today's episode, and which is why it's called Mental Health Check-In. Because we all need to, and we said this with Nathan on the last episode, that we need to sometimes recognize that we're not okay. Or we need to recognize when something does affect us. And it's okay to feel like that, but you can't continue feeling like that. And so you've got to figure out and get to the core of what that is and why you're feeling like that. And then you can work on it and then you can move forward. And that's one of the things that we said. We said that it's okay to like reach out to a friend and a family member and whoever and just go, yep, you know what? This is how I'm feeling. And they can go, yep, okay. Well, just know that you're not on your own. And I'm here to talk to you and blah, 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 blah. But it's a different thing to when you're talking to a professional or to somebody who is trained in this line of work, because you are then able to find out the source. Now, luckily for myself, I have studied mental health first aid. I have been studying mental health for the longest of times. I did counselling. I'm a qualified and certified life coach. So I've been able to take a step back and figure things out. It may have taken me a few days, but I figured things out, so I know where I need to look at. But yeah, ultimately, we have to remember that we're not alone at all. There are always people there, and you may not necessarily want to reach out to them, but just know that they are there in case things do get a little bit dark. And you might not necessarily want to share everything, and that's the thing. And there are some people out there who live very, very private lives, and I completely get that. There are some people who may feel a little bit embarrassed about reaching out to a friend or a family member and going, do you know what? Like, I get that I'm going through something, but I don't want to reach out to them because I'm a bit embarrassed by it. I don't want them to feel like I'm a failure. I don't want them to feel like I am whatever. I think that even though you may feel like that, it's always good to remember, like, to remind yourself who is in your life, just in case it gets a little bit dark or it gets a little bit too much. Because yeah, okay, your friend or your relative or whoever it is that you reach out to may not have all the answers, but they can be there just to listen to you. And I think that's what we need to remember. I'm going to dive right here into the comments because I was going on my monologue and I noticed that there was a lot of comments. And so I'm just going to read out a couple. Yvonne, hi Yvonne, if you're still here. Marcus said at the time I had similar dad experience. He made the choice. There is only so much rejection a youngster can take. It wasn't your choice, really. It wasn't my choice, really. Like at that time, it wasn't my choice. It was my choice the older that I got and the more I understood what was going on and the more I matured, the more I had that choice of going, I don't want to reach out. Because I could have done. I knew exactly where he lived. Well, obviously, after many years, I found out exactly where he lived. I found out his name. I found out who he was. I found out where he lived, where he worked, what he did. Not that I was stalking at all. I actually wasn't. It was just like through word of mouth and things like that. But yeah, I found out a lot. So at that point, it was my choice. It was my choice to not speak to him. But you're right. When I was younger, it wasn't my choice, and there was a lot of rejection from more than just him. That's all I've had, really, from family members anyway. A whole lot of rejection. But that's a story for a different mental health day. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, there was a lot of rejection from his side when I was younger. And the thing is that I look back and I think to myself, I wonder if it was him that he emailed back. Like, I wonder if it was somebody else who just got the email and just started emailing back or whatever. It might not even been his email address. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different things that I think of, but too late now. Like, again, as I said, that choice is gone, and we no longer can get those answers. So it is what it is. We have to look to move forward. because that's the only way. The world doesn't stop, even though you want it to, and even though in your head it doesn't stop. Like sometimes you think things freeze in time, but they don't. The world continues spinning around. Another comment, it all gets locked away and a little safe that opens up every now and again. It does, definitely. And I felt that this week, 100%. I think that's the issue. I think when I talk about something, when I haven't dealt with it in a long time, or I haven't dealt with it in like fully, or even if you have dealt with it fully, I mean, I could talk about like bullying in school, or like the physical stuff that happened to me when I was back in school. I could talk about that, and it would still set me off in a different mental way, because you're not it's not that you're not dealing with it, but it's something that you haven't had to confront for a while, and that's why this podcast works, and that's why I like these people are open and honest, and that's why I like talking about things like this on the podcast, because it helps you just become open. It helps you just kind of confront these things and talk through it. And as you said, Linda, it's good to talk. It is. It's very, very good to talk, which is why I ramble, and I've been rambling on for nearly an hour. It's definitely something that is needed, because it does help you maneuver through certain things. Like if it wasn't for talking on Monday's episode, I would not have brought up those feelings again. And if it wasn't for today's episode, I wouldn't have been able to confront those feelings and actually vocalize what's been going on. And now it's out in the world, in the ether. I can deal with it. I know what to do. So yeah, I think it's good to put a finger on it, I suppose. So yeah. That's why this episode, as I said, that's why this episode is called Mental Health Check-In. It's as much as a check-in for me as it is for you guys. So yeah. Well, thank you for listening to me ramble for nearly an hour. It's been an absolute pleasure. It is good to talk, and I think that's what we all need to do. Please remember that if you are feeling alone, as we head into the winter months, the nights are drawing in, just remember that you are not alone, okay? No matter what you're going through, if, for example, you are dealing with grief, you are dealing with loss, you are dealing with a friendship breakdown, you're dealing with a relationship breakdown, a marriage gone wrong, divorce, you're just having a bit of a spat with your other half, or even just falling out with a friend, or if you're at a community group and for some reason two people just don't like each other, just remember that you aren't on your own, and you might be dealing with it the best way that you know how, but just know that there will be people there to help you cross that bridge. I keep talking about this bridge. Like, the bridge is real, guys. This is where we need to be, and this is where we are, and we just need to cross that bridge together. So if you can do if you can do anything to help somebody cross that bridge, to help them get through whatever it is that they're going through, and that's what we do. We help each other out. Well, I want to end on a bit of a lighter note than that. So, yes, I want to say a massive, massive thank you for jumping on for this week's episode, for having a bit of a chit chat with me, allowing me to be able to express myself and be able to talk absolute shit to yourselves and talk through my issues, because there's a hell of a lot of them. Anytime. But yes, a massive, massive thank you again for tuning in for a little bit of tea with me. Now, coming up on Monday, we do have another fabulous episode. We've got them all coming. We've got episode 100, because that is when we say goodbye, and that's when I'll be in a complete emotional wreck. But on Monday's episode, so on the 31st of October, we have Ryan Powell coming back for episode It says it's not. But coming back to do Takeover, he's not taking over Spillit, it's not going to be one of those episodes, but that episode will literally be him talking about his brand new company, Takeover. Now, you might remember Ryan, when he came back on the show in 2020, he was one of my first guests as well. We were talking about online bullying and online social media, but also helping children actually use the internet and social media in a safe way. So obviously he'll be coming on and talking about that, but there's going to be a hell of a lot more to talk about. He's told me a little bit, and I really can't wait for you guys to hear his story, because it is truly inspirational. If you want to follow me on all of my socials, you can. Just remember, this one is @that_Marcus W. You can find me anywhere that there is an @ symbol, okay? So whether that be TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, wherever, just type in @that_Marcus, right? Marcus W. and you will find me. If you want to get in touch with me about today's episode or any of my other episodes, if you want to get in touch with me about Spillit in general, you can do. You can email me, marcus@spillit.uk. My inbox is always open, even if, for example, you just want to have a little bit of a chat about what's on your mind recently. Drop me an email, man. It's fine. Drop me an email anytime. I'll pick it up. We can converse. I'll just let you speak to me. Whatever you need. Okay? Well. That does bring us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much. Deborah has dropped a last-minute comment there as well. Always good to spend a little time with you. Same with you, Deborah, and I really do appreciate you jumping in from across the pond every single time as well. Thank you to Deborah. Thank you to Linda for your insightful comments as well. And thank you so much for jumping in on the comments as well. Guys, as I say, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just drop me a comment. And also as well, drop me an email if you want to be part of the conversation on next week's show as well. And that takes us to the end of the episode. So, until we spill it again, it's bye for now.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of Spillit. You can catch Spillit live every week over on Facebook, YouTube, and now LinkedIn. You can also catch up with Spillit on the move on your preferred podcast streaming service. And don't forget to follow me on all my socials @that_Marcus W. And for anything Spillit related, you can always get in touch with me by dropping me an email, marcus@spillit.uk.